Now we got it. What's up, Amazon sellers? Welcome back to the twice weekly news and Q&A show. This is we're going to share some e-commerce news, stats, the occasional business maxim, and answer your questions about selling on Amazon. So if you have a question about retail arbitrage, online arbitrage, wholesale, or a Keepa quandary, or Cyber Weekend, Cyber Monday, any kind of sourcing, drop it in the chat. I'll do my best to give you whatever help I can. Chris Grant is traveling. So you bring the news, we'll bring the news, you bring the questions, and that's how this whole thing comes together. So for those of you that are new here, my name is Chris Rasick. Normally to my left or the right, whichever way you're orientated. Normally Chris Grant would be here. He is traveling. This will be the last one he misses. He says he very much wanted to make this one. Wanted to talk to you guys and see how everyone is doing. So it's just me, but I got jam-packed with news. There's actually Black Friday data that's come in already. So we're going to talk about that. Got a whole bunch of pieces of news. And I want to get to your questions. So make sure you fire those off. Happy Cyber Monday Eve, everyone. I was so busy. I didn't even come up with a synonym for solo. So there's no $2 word today. So I do apologize. Let's see who's here already. Becky, how you doing? Syed, good to see you, my man. Kevin, thanks for joining. Karen, good to see you always. Rachel, what's happening? Jaren's in the house. Yep, Solo C. That's my street name. That's what they call me on the streets. Shannon, how are you? Good to see you. Debbie, thanks for joining. Good to see you. AMZ with me. I'm happy you're here too. There's Ryan. What's up, Ryan? Hope I mean, have you guys worn out sourcing? Like, this is, hopefully your sales are great, but like the sourcing has been incredible. So let's see. Debbie joining all the way from Jerusalem. I appreciate you. What time is it over in Jerusalem? Appreciate you, regardless of what time it is, Debbie. Thanks for hanging out. David, hey, getting things together for my second Section 3. You know what? Another friend of mine also had to go through their second Section 3. Certainly hoping not to get off track before we get to your question, but I certainly hope this isn't going to be a revolving thing. Because my buddy that I talked to, he beat his quickly. That's the good news. But it was about 2 years, almost to the day that he got his second one. So it does make me curious on whether this is going to be an ongoing thing. I don't know, to be honest with you. But okay, the rest of your comment. Getting things together for my second Section 3. Anything changed since last year? Anything I should have on hand besides what's requested in the email? General tips. Thanks. Nothing that I've heard of. In fact, my buddy went through it very, very quickly. The only thing that's changed maybe is they're a little less convenient for the seller. I've heard a couple times, including my one friend that I talked to directly about this. The times for the video conference are like in the middle of the night. They apparently don't. The people doing the video interviews, apparently they favored their normal working schedules as opposed to schedules where we might be awake. So yeah, like windows, the only windows that were open for my buddy was like somewhere between 3 a.m. and 4:30 a.m. is what they could schedule. They do give you an option to um, go. You can join. You can try to talk to somebody like on demand. I guess there's somewhere you can go, but even that is the hours are a bit chaotic. So that's one thing that's changed. Other than that, seems like the processing is going pretty smooth. Yeah, I hopefully, second time around, hopefully having passed it once, I'd like to think that maybe that adds a little bit of speed to the process. But we shall see. Yeah, basically, but here's the thing: you don't want to mess with your account, so you probably want to follow everything, all the guidance that's out there, including we have a detailed podcast that we did on Section 3. If it's me, and if or when I get my second Section 3, I'm just going to go by the book. Unfortunately, the downside, we still do have our income source, revenue generation, our businesses are on the line. So I'm certainly not going to mess around with that. So Debbie said it's midnight, pulling a late nighter for us. Appreciate it. Debbie also, my second one was almost 2 years to the day for my first. Interesting. Let's see what, yeah, Debbie's got a few things. They asked me this time around, they wanted to know when my account was started. I did get that question the first time. They went through all user permissions. Yeah, that's what I went through on my first one. Asked about each person. Makes sense. They want to know who you've given access to. If this is, the spirit of this is trying to weed out fraud and counterfeiting and whatnot. And they asked how I find my products. Okay. Pretty straightforward. So, yeah, I wish. Why do they do this during Q4? You'd think they would have had some feedback along the way. And the call was about an hour long. That's interesting. That's a lot of talking. That's spending some serious time with Amazon. So, yeah. So David, yeah, you should be good. Especially you got through it the first time. It's unfortunate that this is going that we're getting around to. Curious what the triggers might be, but yeah, all feedback that I've seen so far, and people getting their second one, it's pretty quick. So that's the bright side. So hopefully they'll move it to another quarter. So I don't. Hey Tim, you got it, man. The show must go on. We got it's the Seinfeld method. We gotta cross the X's out every show. So, hey Jeff, how's it going? Let's see, did I miss anybody? David, the 14-day deadline to complete the video interview is Tuesday. I didn't realize the video call may have to be scheduled out a bit. Hopefully, no issues going past the deadline. Interesting. Hopefully. Yeah, hopefully it's not an issue. Yeah, I might try to grab somebody live, if you have some availability, or if there's any way that you possibly can't, or, any way that you possibly can, get it done before the deadline. I would certainly try to do that. You certainly don't want to mark right away, if at all possible. Lounge Singer, shoot me a DM. That's something we could talk about we could talk about privately. We don't need to talk about that on the show. So, all right. So we've got piece of news. I don't see anyone. Isn't it? It's curious. So it's Cyber Monday Eve, of course. And what's curious, I'm looking through the comments and I don't see anyone from the state up north, because it is, in addition to Cyber Monday Eve, it is also Victory Sunday for anyone who paid attention to college football. They probably thought, like, you know what, I'm not tuning in, because we live in that state, and they absolutely trounced us. The Ohio State Buckeyes came out victorious. If you missed it, it was rivalry week, including the biggest rivalry game in all of college football. So they're suspiciously absent, just in case. They're sitting there going, we're not tuning into the show. They're going to gloat. And I can't believe they would duck us simply because we won a silly little football game, and they think that we're going to gloat, and they think we're going to rub their nose in it, just in case they watch the replay, just to make sure if they're right. I am going to gloat, right? How's that? Can you hear that? How's that? That's right. All is right with the world. The Ohio State Buckeyes have taken back the crown from the rivalry. So hope you all enjoy that. I couldn't go on without getting that out of my system. So hopefully they tune in for the replay. If they show up late, I might be forced to play that again. We shall see. In the meantime, let's get to the news. Thank you for being a good sport with me. The non-football fans are like, really? Like, I can't wait for Chris Grant to get back. All right, so let's talk about the winners and losers from Black Friday. We have a little bit of information from Black Friday coming in. It was impressive and interesting. U.S. e-commerce sales on Black Friday hit $11.8 billion. That is a 9.1% increase year over year per Adobe Analytics. A second data source, Salesforce, pegged U.S. Black Friday online sales at $18 billion total. That's up roughly 3% over 2024. Here's the interesting part, though. Despite higher dollar sales, online order volume dropped 1% year over year. This is per Salesforce. Also, average selling prices rose 7%, while units per transaction fell about 2%. So basically, I mean, shoppers bought fewer items but paid more per item. So online discounting remained largely flat compared to 2024. Overall discount rates peaked at about 28% in the U.S. and 27% globally. A bit of a category breakdown. Peak discounts online for electronics were about 29%. That's versus 30.1% average discount last year. Toys hit 30% on average discount versus 28% last year. TVs are virtually flat. It was 24.3 versus 24.2%. And furniture remained stable. Furniture ran about a 19% discount. Another interesting note in this shopping season, use of AI in traffic acquisition exploded. AI-driven traffic to U.S. retail sites were up 805% versus last year. This is per Adobe now. Customers referred via AI were 38% more likely to convert into sales versus non-AI referrals. Salesforce data suggests about $3 billion in U.S. online sales on Black Friday were driven by AI or agent channels. It's pretty interesting. And then in the mix, the old-fashioned brick and mortar foot traffic overall. One of the large trackers of that, named Retail Next, found in-store visits down 3.6% versus 2024. So pretty interesting. The price increase, not surprising. I think these trends are in line with what we would have expected. It is interesting to see the overall numbers. That $11.8 billion number is insane. So, combine this with the information that we've seen to where holiday shopping is being delayed. There's reason to think that maybe this is the start of Q4, as much as they tried to pull it in earlier, and get as many sales with early Black Friday days and whatnot. This may signal even more good days to come. So I thought that was pretty interesting. I'll do another piece of news, and then I'll get to questions. So go ahead and pop them in the chat. Do another piece of news, and then we'll try to answer anything that you got going on. Thought this was interesting. eBay unwraps its biggest ever lineup of live holiday shopping. Starting November 28th and running through December 20th, eBay is running what it calls its biggest ever lineup of eBay live shopping. The live events are going to feature a huge mix of high-end goods, including luxury items like Birkin bags from Hermes, Rolex, Omega watches, that sort of thing. Also high-value collectibles, think vintage cards, comic books, rare memorabilia, and surprise drops and auctions. And some of these auctions are going to start at $1 as far as the initial bid. This new interactive format they added a bit to it. There's a spin the wheel mechanic, which could give out gifts with your purchase, surprise drops, and even some of the watches are going to drop as low as $999. There'll be some live celebrity guest appearances during some of the streams and curated drops from some of their top sellers. eBay is framing this as a key step in evolving live stream shopping, plus curated collector experiences. And ultimately, they're aiming to expand their live stream format to more markets, specifically the UK, Germany, etc. And they want to expand categories and ultimately drive more buyer engagement. What does this mean for us? It's interesting to keep tabs. Most of us need another outlet, at least one, if not more. So if eBay becomes more popular, it could drive visits overall, and that could help us out as we try to offload, bad buys, returns, whatnot. Or there may even be some specific sourcing opportunities directly for eBay. I actually, that box there, Storefront Stalker Pro actually put me on to a discontinued item, and I found 12 of them somewhere. Ended up getting them for like $8, and it is discontinued. I verified it's discontinued. Amazon is somewhere in the $25 range, so it is profitable if I wanted to send the 12 units in. However, the comps on eBay are anywhere from $20 to $65. So I'm thinking I may put all 12 on eBay and just set the price at like $40 and try to roll those out. So I'm, needless to say, I am happy to hear that eBay is trying to drum up some business. Specifically, as far as the news goes, live shopping and the hype surrounded around it may ignite demand. Staging these high stakes auctions, eBay is it's a bit of a transformation, right? and they're kind of combining price shopping and molding it into more entertainment, which seems to be popular. That can turbocharge demand, push up realized sale prices, especially for some of these high-end stuff, especially if the consumer perception changes. And you got to love FOMO-driven buy pressure, selling these high-value items, starting at trivial bids, especially. That's going to drag buyers in. It's going to raise visibility and can significantly boost final prices. That's good news for us sellers who, if we play with the big ticket items, collectibles, and the rare stuff. So that's good news. I like that eBay is trying to shake things up. And I like that it's current. eBay they stayed static for quite a long time. So yeah, Jaren's got it. Amazon to eBay. Yeah, I think Jaren, correct me if I'm wrong. I think Flip Alert has a module specifically for Amazon to eBay flips. That could be huge. So hey, Polly, thanks for joining. So let me see. If overall sales were up 9, but online only up 3, does this mean in-store went up 6? No, because what was that? E-commerce sales. No, I don't believe it was in-store. Now I'm confused. Maybe it was. Maybe in-store did go up. Traffic was down 3.6, but we know ticket prices, overall sales were higher. But I forget what the distinction is. I can't comb through the information right now to find it. But I did have something similar. Kind of, I was like, well, maybe these numbers don't jive. But yeah, it's the data's out there. I forget what the distinction was. Black Friday versus, I don't know. Maybe it might have been sales and non-sales specifically. But Eden Sings, any ideas on how to manage a customer authenticity complaint? I've won a few of these on the first try, but I got one now that I need to respond to a second time. Yeah, I don't interpret your first attempt not going through when other first attempts have as you doing anything wrong. We're just kind of we're in an environment where it just takes multiple tries. We know Amazon is trying to use more automation. They're trying to use AI, as far as like ungatings and account health issues. There's anecdotal evidence that it takes about 4 or 5 tries before you can actually get a human to review it. So yeah, I wouldn't take that as a reflection of you or your documentation. I just submit it, maybe change the name of the file. That's a little trick that I use to try to get through the automation that may think it's a duplicate submission. Sometimes those get kicked out right away. So I always I tweak something in the file name just to give the impression that it's new documentation, or you annotate something a little extra, do a little clarifications, just modify a little bit. And that should help. But yeah, I think it's just a numbers game, Syed, if it's you and you just started to sell and making 5,000 a month sales, where pretty good things, how will you utilize OAC Plus to grow your account? I want to know your approach. Okay, so if I was selling $5,000 a month, I joined OAC Plus, how would I utilize that? Me personally, I like courses. So I would dig in. The very first thing I would do is probably Keepa Academy, just because I've been through all except one OA challenge, and the OA challenge replays are in there also. But The OA challenge now, the current version of OA challenge, when Chris does them, Keepa is usually 3 days worth of content. Just out of the 14 days that the OA challenge runs, 3 of them now are Keepa. And I think like the bowl that is my brain, like I think Keepa is bigger than my brain bowl, because I just can't seem to keep everything top of mind. There's always something that I forget about, or something that I haven't utilized. And I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that. You can take 1, 2, or, maybe a couple more than that tactics with Keepa. And if you put them into practice and you're actually making money from it, it doesn't really matter if you've forgotten, a percentage of the Keepa training. But I would start with Keepa Academy, and I would go through that. It's on demand, in the course library, and I would brush up on Keepa, because there's so many different ways to set different corridors. We talk about all this stuff. I love. I'll tell you what I particularly like in Keepa is the fact that I can go in, I can set a corridor, and I can specifically seek out products that have at least a 50 plus sold over the last 30-day badge or more that don't have a sales rank, right? So you have, the one thing, the unranked, no sales rank is its own moat, in my opinion. I think there's a whole bunch of sellers out there that think that no sales rank means it doesn't move and it doesn't sell. So you eliminate any doubts that you may have yourself, because basically, even if it doesn't have the 50 plus badge or something like that, I'll still look at the seller count, and there are plenty of things with no sales rank that are clearly moving, right? Seller counts are going up and down like an EKG. There's clearly activity as sellers sell out and more sellers come in. But there's a whole bunch of sellers that won't touch it. They're like, no sales rank, I'm not going to make that judgment call, because it's even less certainty, and we know there's no 100% certainty in this business at all. So if you have any doubts, you get that 50 plus or the 100 plus, you find that badge with no seller rank, you can actually set up searches via Keepa and find only those products. And you can just sit there and just manually source one by one, knowing full well that per Amazon, the only true data that they actually give us as far as sales, and stuff that sells, it's moving, and you can kind of have that buffer, that a lot of sellers are going to stay off of it. So you get, your worries as far as whether it's going to get saturated are mitigated, because people are probably excluding that from a lot of searches. So that's one of the things that I like. But I would go through Keepa Academy and brush up on my skills, try to take something new or something that I don't do a lot, but something that sounds interesting that I can clearly see has a strategic advantage, and I would put that into practice in addition to everything else that I have going on. So, but that's a loaded question, because there's so much in OAC Plus. If you don't have it already, the free access to Storefront Stalker Pro, make sure you get in there, make sure that you spend at least a little bit of time, because that alone will pay you back for your membership easily, and then some. That can easily add to your bottom line and boost your sales. Make sure you're taking advantage of what you do get. Spend a little bit of time in the Flip Alerts channel, see if anything pops off, try to make a point to make regular visits over there, because there is money, for sure. And bare minimum, get your 3 free stores at Storefront Stalker Pro, get that set up, because that's proof in and of itself that, it's what other sellers are putting in their own storefronts. So Flip Alert has new eBay module calculator in the works. Yeah, I thought so. Yeah, it's a whatnot push. Yeah. And they needed to do it. eBay was just kind of like the old-fashioned standby. So it's about time that they freshen things up a little bit. So, and it's my preferred secondary channel, to be honest. So, lounging, when you pay out on cashback sites, do you take the plus 5% bonus prepaid card or just take the check? Had issues in the past with spending the 5% bonus cards easily. I don't ever take it, the bonus with a gift card. It just doesn't seem to amount to much. It kind of, the cash back is just a percentage of the purchase, and then to get another small percentage, it's almost like reverse compounding in my mind. Plus, I just kind of use it as a bonus income generator. So by the time I've maximized cash out, I'll just take the money at that point, because it's, as long as nobody's seen the IRS in the chats or anything, right? It's basically invisible money, or can be, depending on how you want to look at it. But I just take regular, usually most of them, except for my biggest one, which is Top Cashback. All the other ones I'll take as soon as it hits 50 or $100. I'll just cash it out, send it into my accounts and whatnot. So, you just have these little $50 and $100 hits into your account. It's pretty nice. So I don't wait for it to try to build up and turn it back into sourcing. Not sure if I should consider that or not, but yeah, that's just how I do it. I don't think there's any right answer, unless, like you said, you're having an issue with the bonus card. That's yeah, the shutdown is over. Yeah. They might be in the chat. We got, like, you guys see them, give me a heads up. So, yeah. There's a big debate on whether it's income or not. It should be whether you should claim it or not. I don't know. I'd just rather ignore it, and it's not an issue, right? Ignore it and it'll go away. I won my authenticity complaints. Just keep submitting, right? Yep, got that right. Eden Sings, what is your thinking on managing invoices for eBay? I'm trying to decide whether to take photos of Marshall's receipts and price tags for products selling on eBay. All right. So if you're selling merchandise from Marshall's, or if it's on Amazon, you should have photos already. All right. So if it's just excess inventory from Amazon that you're selling on eBay, yeah, you should be taking pictures if you're selling it on Amazon in the first place, right? So in that scenario, you would have the pictures already and just keep them, right? Just hang on to them in that scenario. If you're sourcing directly for eBay, I don't take any extra steps as far as documentation. I keep the receipts. Like if I bought it at Marshall's, say I went to Marshall's and I bought something, and I was like, this is going directly on eBay. I was skipping Amazon altogether. I would just keep the receipt. Because here's the thing, and this may change, but from my experience, fighting authenticity on eBay is it's more like talking to a brick wall than dealing with Amazon, to be honest. I had some Kate Spade. No, it's Kendra Scott. I had a Kendra Scott necklace, and it's eBay's automated system, or AI, flagged it as counterfeit. And they shut the listing down. And I submitted receipts, invoice. I went through the whole Amazon process. Like I had order confirmation, I had shipping confirmation, I had delivery confirmation, I had credit card statements, the whole boat, and it did absolutely nothing. Didn't help whatsoever. I couldn't get anybody. I went through all the channels. You're supposed to, back in the day at least, the Facebook group, eBay's Facebook group, it used to be eBay for Business, but I think they combined it with their main eBay Facebook account now. That used to be the place to go to actually talk to somebody that with some common sense. And, I went through that channel, talked to somebody. They said, oh, yeah, let me see. And nothing came out of it. So, yeah, I just don't think, I think it's going to fall on deaf ears, essentially, whatever steps you take to try to prove authenticity. It seems like eBay, once they decide it's fake, they basically drop the gavel at that point. Deal Hunter, hello Chris. Do you close or delete out of stock listings from your inventory? I do both. They are two separate and both necessary functions. Yeah, I go through at least once a month, and I'll see what's out of stock, and as long as it says 0, I close it and then I delete it. It's a 2-step process on everything. I've had account health issues from inventory that I haven't had in stock in about a year. So I fought it. I'm pretty sure I won it. But as we all know, that kind of stays on your account. We know that Amazon keeps a permanent record. So I'd rather, if at all possible, avoid that. If at all possible, I'd like to avoid issues on my account health, whether I win them or lose them. The less I deal with, the better. I just want to try to stay as clean as possible. And it's not a huge deal to kind of go through and just take a little bit of an admin section of your workday and just go through them. Usually I do it on a Sunday. I usually try to batch admin tasks on Sunday nights. Like I'll pay my VAs and kind of just do a bunch of that sort of stuff. And then I'll go in, I'll take a look at my repricer. I'll look at my excess inventory, and then I will close and delete the stuff that went out of stock. Usually, not every single week with that stuff, but yeah, I don't want the headache, man. What's up, Artem? Watching while driving in South Florida. Be careful out there, man. That's drivers in Florida, man. They're something else. If the customer requests a replacement but doesn't send back the item after 30 days, does Amazon reimburse the buy cost or the selling price? You know what? I don't know the answer to that one. Yeah, I am not sure. You might want to say that till Wednesday's show when Chris is back. He'd have a better idea of that. Or Deal, are you in? If you're in OAC Plus, go ahead and pop that in the chats. Somebody will have an answer for you. Yeah, I honestly don't know. And that's one of my issues is that's one of those details that I just don't pay much attention to. After it's sold, I mean, returns, like whatever I get back, I'll try to move those and liquidate and get capital back. But, the post-sale admin, I am not very strong. Don't have a lot of patience for it. So that's on me. I apologize. Ooh, man. Lost $500 once because the prepaid card expired in 6 months. That's ridiculous. They should change that. And I think they're trying to change it. I know there was something they talked about. Something was going through about cash values on gift cards. Where basically you could convert it to cash once it falls under. I think the old rule used to be under $10, and they just changed that to $15 to where you can actually get a cash back. That's just a small card, that you've used. There's just those odds and ends, gift cards and whatnot. But yeah, I really wish the expiration date, I wish they would stop that. It's bad. No, I mean, people lose them as is. You don't have to, there's no need to put them on a timer, some sort of countdown before they become absolutely valueless. It just seems unnecessary. I mean, the numbers come back. I think 20 to 25% of gift cards never get used in the first place. So the need to have the card expire doesn't make much sense, really. What's a basic outline for your Cyber Monday process? Is it similar to the sourcing group live stream or anything special? My Cyber Monday process is going to be, I am going to do my best impersonation of someone with ADHD, meaning I will be all over the place. It's kind of been that way this whole weekend. It's just like I should check over here, and then you start spending some time there, and then it's like, oh, I got to do this, and I kind of just I kind of focus on making sure that I am making progress, moving forward, and buying units on a steady pace. That's about the best I can do. I don't know. I probably won't. I don't know if I'll get into Storefront Stalker Pro tomorrow, prior to the live sourcing show. I may hold off because there's plenty to do. I know there's a couple stores that I definitely want to manually source, and inevitably I can, if I made a list, it's a fool's errand to make a list on everything that I want to get to, unless I just want to be depressed afterwards. But yeah, I try not to judge it based on everything that I wanted to do. I kind of judge it like, okay, I got some units, whether I chop it up by hour or session or whatever. The kids are off school. I don't know why aren't the kids going back to school on Monday? What do they need Monday off after having Thursday and Friday off? So I will be making PB&Js and my youngest, we think, has a tapeworm or something. We don't know where she puts all of it. So I will be getting snacks and stuff like that. So I got to kind of plan for distractions and context switching more than normal, more than me just kind of fighting the distractions that are, at my desk here. I'll have little munchkin distractions too. What's your average cash back percentage on spend? I have no idea. I get what I can when I can. I've never thought to average it out. Because there are just certain spots, because I look for, I really like stores that aren't big box. I've got a process in place, and the way that I have my VAs go through their sourcing, I tend to find lesser known stores on a fairly regular basis, which is great, because that there's not a lot of Amazon sellers that have been around these parts, right? Sometimes you can find something cheaper, as long as you vet the store. I love finding stuff at some random comic book shop that has 3 locations around Peoria, Illinois. So they're big enough to be legitimate, and they've got a social media following, and I can Google their address and actually look at the buildings, and everything's legit. I can get a decent amount of units because they've got several stores in a local area. But not a lot of sellers are going to find that. It's like, okay, I feel good about sourcing that. Flip side to that is they're not going to offer cash back. They Top cash back and all the other ones that I use, they're going to have no idea who these people are. And neither side's going to have any interest in setting up, so it's kind of, I get what I can. And I've never really done well, like when Rakuten or something says, hey, it's a big boosted cashback event. I've never really done well. I've never had much luck sourcing based on targeted cashback. Yeah, it's so I gave up on the practice, and so it's a matter of it just doesn't factor in the decision, my sourcing decision. It's just it's there while I'm sourcing. I'll check Rev ROI, dig in a little bit with the sites that I do use, and if it's there, it's there. If not, no big deal. Found dope leads in my TA with no sales rank after you said something. It's how I roll. I love it. Kind of makes you do the meme of the guy behind the tree. You kind of rub your hands together, and that's good stuff. Do you keep those out of stock ASINs you close and delete, tracking somewhere else? Yeah, I have everything. I have everything logged. I keep spreadsheets. I have what did Cheddarsoft change to? SourceFlow, something like that. Yeah, I put the leads in there. I've got tabs for every single sourcing month, going back to when I started. So yeah, so I keep good records. I have it somewhere, and then I use Inventory Lab, so that becomes archived there. Yeah, so I can access it, or if there's a site-wide sale, there's multiple different ways that I can go back and look. And I try to do that, not as good as I should be, going back through it, but ideally, if I had a better process and I was more disciplined, I'd probably go back 3 months, like right now, I should be going back to August and looking at what I sourced, and kind of just pull everything up again, just double check. I think that's probably a profitable way to do things. And I've had good luck when I remember to do it. But I don't know. I get enough new stuff coming across my desk all the time that I haven't made it a point to get a better replan system for myself. But I do have access to everything. I can find everything very quickly. Can you talk more about when to close and delete listings? I thought you were supposed to keep listings open in case an item is returned. Well, here's the thing. If you can, some people do that. If you close and delete an ASIN, and because you run out of stock from whatever you bought, and then you close and delete it, and then after you've closed and deleted it, somebody returns the item, that item will go stranded. So you'll get a notification. It'll be sitting there in your stranded items. And it's a fairly simple process to go in and make it live again. Basically, you go in and I haven't done the process in a while, but basically you make it quantity 0 and you mark it as merchant fulfilled. And then you hit enter. You basically submit it back to the catalog. And then I don't even think we have to manually convert it anymore. I think Amazon just does it on our own. They'll actually convert it from merchant fulfilled to FBA. So basically your SKU goes live again, and then the stranded inventory, Amazon's able to make the connection and go, oh, this is in their catalog again. It's no longer stranded, and they actually convert it back. Sometimes you will have to go in, depending on how long it's been. You may have to go in and like I have to redo my repricer sometimes. I may have to go grab whatever the old SKU was that I used, and I may have to dig around in the archive a little bit for some information, but it's pretty straightforward. So, and it's not cumbersome enough to keep me from not closing and deleting aggressively. Okay, so Debbie's answering that question on the customer return or replacement request when they don't actually submit it. She says they do whatever they feel like. That tracks, Debbie. I would completely believe that. Right, and then we are running, Q4 does run an extended return period. So it is something, we are going to get some fairly old stuff returned for sure. Tim, if you were in the process of closing and deleting some out of stock listings, you do replen some items, correct? That is absolutely correct. That is it's my informal replen system. It's about the biggest replen system that I do have. Yeah, anytime I am going through things that I bought and gone out of stock on, I will definitely take a look and see where I got it, what the current price is, what code that I used. I'll check for new codes. Yeah, every chance, whenever I touch my inventory, I always use that as a good opportunity to see if I can get more, provided it's warranted, of course. I also do it repricing, as I'm going through. If I'm tweaking some things with my repricer, I'll go take a look. Obviously, if I'm liquidating because the stuff isn't moving, obviously there's less of a chance that's a good replen opportunity. But yeah, anytime I touch my existing inventory or recently out of stock stuff, I'm definitely refreshing what's going on. Artem, man, you're making eBay. It's going from side hustle to main hustle. That's awesome. Although I know your backstory, Artem, so I understand why that was necessary. I don't know Peoria. I went through my mental files and tried to think of random city in the Midwest, and Peoria just stuck out. It's fun to say, right? There's a rhythm to Peoria. So I don't know. Never been there. I don't know anything about it. Are your current VAs from onlinejobs.ph? No. It's been a while, but that's where I hired my old ones. Yeah. No, I get all my VAs secondhand. Yeah, I think the old the first OA Challenge VIP group, the first time, which is basically that's OAC Plus in its prior life. I got my first two VAs from somebody in there. And then I got my most recent VA from the OAC Plus. Yeah, in networking communities like this are that's one of the great things about it is, you can find VAs. I've had a couple that most of them don't stick. I mean, the hit ratio on good VAs is not 100%. I don't think anybody's 100%, unless you just have one and you did a good job with the one that you have. But I find actually this time of year coming up real soon, usually about January, if I am considering getting a VA, I will put messages out in like FBA Today, the Facebook group, 54,000 people in that group. I'll post a message in OAC Plus if come January, if I'm looking to expand. I'll do the same thing in there. But usually I just kind of float questions out there because I think, as much as I don't like the practice, I think there are sellers that hire seasonal VAs. I think there's some temp VAs out there. I'm not against that practice. I'm only against the practice if you are hiring a VA on a temporary basis. If you're upfront with them that it's a short-term employment, that's fine. Obviously there's no issue. I don't like it if you hire a VA and they don't realize that you don't intend to keep them long term. If they're good, if there are performance issues, fire your VA, let them go when it's warranted. I get all that. I'm not saying any of that, right? I think there are people that hire VAs because these people, this is their livelihood. These are their jobs. They have families to support and everything like that, and it can be difficult. Sometimes it's difficult to find employment. So to treat them unfairly and give them the false impression that it's a long-term position when it's just short-term. I have a problem with that. But so I do my part and I try to hire when I need to hire. I kind of look for opportunities in January primarily, but then they pop up all over the place. Just kind of being active in the community is the best way that I've found to find VAs. It's kind of like hiring temporary without letting them know. It's kind of it's almost like getting a real bunny for Easter. Like it's just it's cruel. Don't buy them as Easter gifts. Let me see what other questions. We're pushing an hour, and I didn't even get to. Still have 2 pieces of news. I haven't even done the OAC Plus pitch yet. Man. You deal with Florida, and then you go to Delaware. Tend to be super diligent list maker, but unfortunately one of the worst executors of the plans. Yeah, that's a real thing, right? One of the productivity tips that I read that stuck with me was to reduce your to-do list down to like 3 items, because there's a psychological effect that happens, a negative one, when you don't complete your to-do list, right? So not only is it unproductive to have it on the list, not get to it, so now you have items added to tomorrow's list when you probably have stuff you need to do tomorrow also, so it kind of there's a bit of a snowball effect, as far as these tasks. But there's also a negative impression for not completing the list, and it made a lot of sense when I read it. They said just maximum 3 to 5 items on your to-do list. And then once you get all those done, you can always do more stuff, you can just add an extra item, get that done, and just kind of one at a time from there. But there is actually a psychological benefit to the shorter list. But that's the best advice there. Just go, just keep going, just get stuff, just keep moving forward. So. What is the benefit of closing the listing? Does that impact account health? No, the closing it doesn't affect your account health. What we're doing is trying to avoid anything negative with our account health down the road, right? And as far as I understand it, closing the listing means you're not offering it for sale anymore. Right, because like when I deal with Rosenbaum, they tend to pay very close attention to the catalog when they're engaged with you selling something that they're on and they're defending. So I remember I closed it immediately, and the next day, person from Rosenbaum said, "I see you closed the listing, thank you," and then blah blah blah. Right, so basically, closing it means you're no longer offering it for sale. Deleting the listing removes it from your catalog completely. And I don't know the mechanism behind it, but if you delete without closing it, apparently your offer stays out there somewhere, stays in Amazon purgatory somewhere. And there are stories of people running into issues. If you haven't listened to our podcast episode with Joy Williamson from Seller Basics, she has a detailed section in there where she talks about the importance of doing both steps, closing and deleting. Polly's got beef with Peoria. Not a city to admire. Wouldn't want to live there. All right. It's not in the running. I'm not, I wouldn't go from Ohio to Illinois. Like that's feels like a lateral move at best, right? I had a husband-wife duo scam me doing no work for months, and a third who was amazing but ghosted me. Yeah, there's yeah, it can be tough. I mean, it's when you have a good VA, like I'm having issues with my very first VA. He's going through some personal issues. And it's turned into performance issues, but he's been with me over 3 years. He seems like a good guy. I'm pretty sure over this time he's been straight with me. I know there's some living arrangement issues, so his access to reliable internet, not only reliable internet and time to work, like a dedicated work became an issue. My suggestion, this has worked really well for me overall, and I've shared this before, but I have a scoring system that I have my VAs go through, and I set up quotas. They have to, at the very least, they have to produce 1 lead per hour worked, bare minimum. So every VA has to have at least 8. They work 8-hour shifts, so they have to put minimum 8 leads on the spreadsheet. But in addition to it, I also have a scoring system, and they also have to score minimum of 8 points every single week. And the point system that I came up with was, when I review it, I give them the metrics, right? It's $5 minimum profit per unit, 30% ROI minimum, and then Keepa drops are wonky right now, but back in the day, it used to be 15 Keepa drops or more every single month. A good lead hits all 3 metrics. I've told them if it misses one of the 3, you just get 2 of the 3 metrics, still put it on the list. I'll take a look at it, because I can sometimes find my own coupon code or find an alternate source. I can turn that missed metric into meeting all 3 sometimes, right? So I still want to see them. And sometimes, like if it's $15 profit and 28% ROI, yeah, I want to see that lead, because if it's good, I'm probably buying it, so I give them some leeway there. But basically, when I review it, if it meets all 3, it's confirmed, it's a good source, it's a match, and I verify everything, they get a full point for a good lead. If it misses one of the 3 metrics, but it still has some merit to it, it's still viable, they get a quarter point for a maybe, is what I mark it on the sheet. And then 0 points for a bad lead, whether it's a bad site or a mismatch or whatever that may be. So full point for a good lead, quarter point for a maybe. I add everything up every week, and then I give them their score. So I think the 2 of them combined, basically get a quota, because they can actually look at the sheet, and as if I'm caught up and I'm going through it, they have their score. They can keep a running total, because I'll see them off hours. I'll see their little icon light up in the Google sheet, so they're checking it during non-work hours too. So they can always put more leads. If their score is a little bit low for the week, or they don't think they quite have enough points yet, sometimes their next shift will they'll pop like 12 leads, trying to get extra points, so the two work in tandem. The 8 minimum make sure they show up. The 8 points tries to, reinforce their skill level, basically. You know what I mean? So. No, I don't. No, I don't do any screenshotting software. Yeah, I mean, it's just basically what I do is they do have to take screenshots. I had an issue with, well, 2 issues. I had an issue with coupon codes. They were just, I don't know, making stuff up, or I don't know where they were getting some of these codes. But I do make them take a picture or a screenshot of the checkout page, and it needs to show the coupon code that they are submitting on the spreadsheet. It has to be a picture. The cart has to show the discount applied with the code, and then they have to pop in the address of my prep center and make sure that they covered shipping as well, because there were a lot of leads where they thought it was profitable. They put it on there, and it's like there's no free shipping, and shipping just killed all of the profits, and I got sick of seeing that. So I was like, all right, verify the code, verify the shipping, screenshot the checkout page, take it all the way to checkout, and verify that. So that's the only screenshot that I do. Sometimes happens the other way around. I offer my VA to another seller while my account was on Section 3. She did some work for him that he wasn't satisfied with, so he's ghosting her. Yeah, it definitely works both ways. That's why I try to treat these VAs with respect, knowing that they're trying to feed their family. Yeah, you try to be respectful. Do you pay them for their time or the leads if their score is too low before you let them go? Yeah, well, basically, I've got weekly scores, and I'll address it with them, as we go through. Like my one VA was, he had scheduling issues and whatnot, and obviously his work suffered, so his scores were also very low. He spent quite a bit of time not meeting the numbers that he was supposed to meet. So, yeah, we talked about it privately. I said, hey, I tried to figure out what the issue was. Is there anything I could do to help you, or what's going on? This isn't like you. He spent a lot of time, like the first 2 years with me being my best VA. So, part of it is, I'll keep up with him as far as what's going on. They just had their first child, which certainly doesn't make things any easier. I understand that. So it's a matter of kind of keeping tabs on what's going on, whatever he feels comfortable sharing with me. And then I've gone through periods where it's like, all right, we need to, you got to get the numbers up. I've sent them back through training. I have I have access to somebody that's pretty good at training. He's a VA for someone else, but he also does, a little bit of training. He's trained multiple people. And I've actually sent them through another round of training, all over again, which definitely helps. Their performance definitely improves when they're fresh off the training. So, but yeah, like the one that I let go because of the scoring system, I gave him so many chances, chance after chance, and eventually I had to set an ultimatum. I said, these just, there's no improvement. and you're not scoring enough. This isn't the quality that I need. So I gave him time. I said, all right, if by the end of the month, I forget, was it 2 weeks or 3 weeks or something like that. I said, you gotta at least hit 8 points at least once in the next 3 weeks. I said, otherwise, and this is after multiple warnings. He was fully aware that his job was on the line. Yeah. And that's another nice thing about the points, is that I can spot trends much easier, like when I put the point system in place, I had some misconceptions about the performance. I thought a couple were doing better than they were, and then there was one that I thought was not doing that good of a job, and the scoring system actually turns out they were actually doing better than I realized. So, there's, it's an easy way to evaluate and spot trends, improvement or on the decline. So, but yeah, it's nice to be able to give them a hard number, say, hey, you got to hit this number in this period of time. And it's pretty black and white. So it helps, but yeah. But I give them a severance, I give them some cash, I pay out. I've paid out portions of their 13th month, and I make sure that they have something to live off of, to give them a little bit of time before they find another job. So interesting system. Thank you. Do you have bonuses or anything based on the ratings? What do you do if they miss the points? Yeah, I mean, the point system is it's just what I came up with. It's just, I try to make sure it's within their skill level. And then it's designed to keep them accountable, but I also want them to be interested in improving their skill, right? I don't want to just go through this and be, so it's like, and they just don't care, and there's different levels of interest. I have a couple VAs that will reach out to me privately and say, hey, can we talk about this? Like I just had a pretty detailed session on variations with one of my VAs last night, actually. And he initiated the contact, and I just want to improve, but they're not all like that. And that's fine, so what I'll do is basically, like, if they're missing points, I'll kind of just scroll back up and see the history of their scoring. Like the one time I scrolled up, that first VA, my longest tenured VA, he missed, gosh, I want to say he missed like 7 weeks in a row. He missed almost 2 full months. He didn't meet the minimum 8 points. But I mean, we go back, so I'm not gonna, here's the thing. Hopefully none of them are listening, but I kind of need them. Like I don't necessarily want to replace a VA because I don't find it very easy. And I don't think I'm alone based on some of the comments that people are making about, getting burned or getting ghosted by VAs. I mean, you find a decent one, most of the time it's worth hanging on to, yeah, I'm not interested in replacing them unless I'm just not getting value for what I'm paying out, the one that I let go, that, I mean, he was scoring like 3 points a week. And it was to the point where it's like, okay, I'm going through at least 40 leads every single week, that 8 times 5 shifts, right? So they have to give me at least 40 every week on the spreadsheet. If I'm only finding 3 good leads and 2 maybes, but I got to review 40 of them, it's taking me too long. That's too much time spent for too little in return. Like, not only am I paying you wages, I'm also wasting a whole bunch of time with garbage leads. and I've sent you through training, and I pay for, your VPN, you have IP alert, you have access to RevSeller, you have tools, and so, but there's, at some point in time, I have to consider not only the wages that I pay out, but the time that I spend reviewing this stuff, and I just kind of, it's got to be a certain batting average, I mean, it's got to be high enough. So, I don't know what that comment was. Like my sissy, it's thank you, Debbie. It does the job. I mean, it does pretty well. It's much better than winging it, just going by feel. So, like the stream, appreciate you, Lounge Zinger. Yeah, it certainly does cost. It costs more than what's generated. Yeah, which is, and it's the same. It's the same concept as some of those tools where you can look in at their screens, and I forget what their hub something. There is actually a tool out there that you can have them install to where you can actually look in on their screens and monitor, make sure they're being productive. It's the same concept as that, a little less big brothery, but there has to be some sort of accountability. There's certain metrics, and actually last year, I don't know if I'm going to do it again. I might, but I actually raised. Last year they had to score 7 points, but I actually upped that, and the logic was, we've been together a full, another full year. What I like, I know your outputs, but you should want to get better, right? So, all right. So we still got, there's still a bunch of guys hanging out with me. Appreciate it. If you have more questions, go ahead and pop it in there. FBA multi-tool has a VA check-in. It's interesting. So, all right. So we got another question. Champion, what's up, man? When the buy box is suppressed, will it activate at a higher cost if it's FBA versus FBM? I don't know. Typically, all right. So you're trying to figure out to get it unsuppressed. So usually buy boxes are suppressed because the price is higher than Amazon thinks it should go for. And usually, plenty of times they're off base, with their expectations. But so you're trying to see, like, as you lower the price to try to unsuppress the buy box, your question is essentially which is going to unsuppress it sooner or the higher price, FBA or FBM. I think it might depend on the time of the year. We know that in Q4, Amazon is more likely to give the buy box to an FBM offer, especially as the fulfillment centers come under more stress. They seem more willing to give them, especially like right about now through, about middle of December, if not even later, if not even right up till Christmas. So they get more generous giving the buy box to FBM offers. So if the second half of November and December, the answer was FBM, I would totally buy that. The other 10 months of the year, call it, I'd probably assume FBA would have the better shot. I don't, and that's just a guess, right? I don't know. I don't have anything to back that up. That's just So if I was a betting man, that's where my money would be. So, but a good repricer will certainly help, regardless. Getting that back. So, thank you for running the live. Yeah, you got it, man. All right, so we're an hour and 20 in. So there's one more thing I want to share with you guys. I will get back to your questions. Absolutely will. But I thought this was pretty important because I've mentioned this a couple times, I think, and at least a couple weeks ago. We haven't done a business maxim or anything like that in quite a while. And there's a reason behind this, but I wanted to talk a little bit more in depth about Solomon's paradox. And like I said, you've probably heard me mention this before. All right. So to refresh you, Solomon's paradox is the finding that people make wiser, clearer decisions for others than they do for themselves. And it basically, when the stakes are personal, perspective gets warped a little bit, right? Emotions can fog the windshield. We obsess over micro details and lose sight of the big picture. But when we think about somebody else in the same situation, suddenly we're calm. We can think strategy clearly, and we're basically enlightened, right? You ever found that you can give advice? The advice you give to others is much better than and that's King Solomon. That's what the paradox is named after. King Solomon was widely known as one of the wisest men. People would travel all over to come get advice from him. Personal life was kind of a mess, right? So that's how he gets the name, right? So that's the paradox, right? You're smart until it's your problem, right? And Daniel Pink, another Daniel Pink name drop. He's getting a lot of them lately. He's an excellent follow. He gave a great metaphor for it, and this is one I used in a previous show. When you're giving advice to someone else, you're like an oceanographer, right? You can see the whole ecosystem, the currents, the coral, the sharks, long-term patterns. You're detached enough to be able to analyze, understand, and then give clear direction. But when you're making decisions for yourself, you're more of a scuba diver, right? You're underwater, you're too close to everything, breathing through a tube, dealing with limited visibility, constantly reacting to whatever swims in front of your face, right? It's the same ocean, but two totally different experiences. So in business, especially Amazon and e-commerce in general, we live about 99% of our lives as a scuba diver, right? We're in the middle of it. So that's the value of a community, right? And I bring this up because I think the OAC Plus is a move that will turn you into an oceanographer instead of a scuba diver. You get to step back, you get to see trends, use structure, use advice instead of anxiety, and you can borrow other people's perspective in the community, right? People who have already solved this exact problem that you're dealing with. Solomon's paradox says we're smarter when we help others, right? And OAC Plus, that's going to give you a room full of people who do that for you, essentially, right? And time is running out. Clock is ticking on the Black Friday deal with the OAC Plus. Right now, you can get it 40% off, both the initiation fee and your monthly fee for life. You can lock in a 40% discount for the extent of your stay within the community. That code is Black Friday 40. You want to go to oachallenge.com/plus. That'll get you a sign-up page, and then you pop in the code Black Friday 40. That'll get you 40% off. OAC Plus, you've heard us mention it. It comes up basically every single show, naturally, because that's how helpful it is. But the quick rundown, it's got a flip alert channel. That's a dedicated channel to flip alerts, Amazon to Amazon flips, that runs 24/7. It's constantly feeding you opportunities. You get free access to Storefront Stalker Pro. You get to stock 3 stores for free. If you decide it's awesome, which you likely will, you can get a 40% discount off a bigger plan, right? They have 10, 20, 40 store plans. You can get 40% off that. The 40 store plan works out to like $80 and change with the discount as an OAC Plus member. I have the 40 store plan, and I'm fed 5,000 ASINs every single week from the stores that I stock. It's powerful stuff. You get access to the course library. That's a $3,000 education in the course vault. It's all on demand. Watch them at your leisure, whenever you want, however you want. You can go back over those. You get access to, I mentioned the OAC challenge, or the OA challenge is, the replays are in there. You'll also get free access to every OA challenge moving forward. So you can actually take the 14-day live. I think that's like a $400 course that he runs periodically, several times per year. You get in free. You get to relearn the stuff. You get to have live answers to your questions. I've taken it 12 times, and I learn something. I refresh and improve every single time. Every Monday night at 9 p.m. Eastern, tomorrow night at 9, I am going live, and I'm going to share my screen, and I'm going to source. And I will think out loud. I'll tell you exactly what I'm looking at, what I like, what I don't like, why I'm digging into this, why I'm skipping this. You can ask questions as I go along. You can steal the ASINs. You can buy the inventory. It's turning out to be a really good weekly session. We have a lot of fun, I think. There's a live coaching call every Thursday at noon. Chris Grant will come to you with a tip or a trick, something to make your life a little bit easier or make you a little bit more dangerous as a seller. And then every single session, this live coaching call is ended with live Q&A. He answers every single question that you got. You can get answers in real time from Chris Grant live. And it's a much smaller, there's 150 people here. He's normally here on these Q&As. The coaching calls are 20, 30 people. It's a much more intimate setting. So you can get whatever burning question you have, you can absolutely get those answered. There's an active community in the Discord. People are talking basically almost all day long. Some weirdos are still in there at 3, 4 in the morning. Either they can't sleep or they're still up. I'm afraid to ask. But the conversation's going. There's all sorts of different channels that you can access and learn and improve from. And then you also get suspension support. Chris it's only 2 months. I don't even think the OAC Plus is 3 months old yet. I'm not sure. Maybe it's 3. But he's already helped 5 or 6 people get their account back with some sort of issue. He'll help you with Section 3. He's provided templates, email templates that you can just copy and paste, personalize, and send them off. You can open a ticket, say, hey, I'm dealing with this account health issue or this suspension or this Section 3, and it's a confidential channel, and Chris will be in there helping you through it, helping you out with whatever's going on. There's ASIN reviews. If you're a newer seller or you just see something that you're just not sure about, you can open up a ticket, again, confidential, and you can have one of the moderators. Usually it's Chris Grant himself. He will actually go through the list. He'll give you his opinion, or he'll go through the ASIN. He'll actually give you his opinion, whether he would buy it, how much he would buy, whether he likes it, lukewarm on it, or whether it would be a pass. He even does a Loom video half the time too, where you can actually watch him take a couple minutes and share a screen and actually walk you through it. So you get all of that in the OAC Plus. And right now that's all 40% off. I think the discount monthly, it drops it from $99 a month down to $59 a month. So it's the best outside of the founder's rate when he launched the grand opening. This is by far the best price that you can get for this community. It's fantastic. And this is just the tip. I mean, it's being improved all the time. I've seen the roadmap of what it's going to be. You're going to have some serious FOMO. So jump on that. That code is going to run through tomorrow night. So Black Friday 40 is the code. So Black Friday 40. Yeah, Cyber Monday 40 is not going to work. I don't know if it's, see if it's case sensitive. Try to put it in all caps, Black Friday 40. If you're still having issues, shoot me a DM. If there's still, if it doesn't turn out to be case sensitive, or there's some sort of issue. I was told it's good through tomorrow night, through Cyber Monday. So, all right, so let's get back to questions. eBay question from Lounge Singer. I've only bought on the current account 250 plus feedbacks, never sold. I have 3 expensive items, $1,400 each. Is it okay for me to sell as my first, or have big seller friends sell them? So yours is the one with 250 feedback, and then you have another big seller, which I assume would have far more feedback. Actually, I'm not sure it matters. I think you're fine with 250 feedback. Yeah, I think I just crossed 300 feedback myself, and not that I haven't sold anything $1,400, but I don't think it's an issue as far as if it's like a credibility as a seller. If it's that kind of issue, I don't think you'll have any issue with that. So, plus it's a lot cleaner to be able to sell it yourself too, you know. Ada, I purchased a beauty product from a Q4 lead list directly from the brand's official website on 3 separate occasions. I submitted all invoices and order confirmations to Amazon, but they keep rejecting them and have removed my listing, saying the item is counterfeit because I don't have brand authorization. Any advice on how to resolve this? I would just keep submitting. And I would make sure that I tweak something, add an extra document, change the file name, and I'd simply just keep submitting the documentation. Most of the time there's the brand authorization, for the most part, under normal circumstances, it's not actually a requirement. I mean, sure, they'd love to see it, but unless this is some sort of special circumstance, I think that's just luck of the draw as far as who the representative from Amazon is that happens to get your file delivered to them, which is also the reason behind saying just keep submitting documentation. Make sure you get through the filters so it doesn't get kicked out as a duplicate entry. That's why you change the file name or you add an extra document. Order confirmation file becomes the invoice, in the naming convention. Make sure you don't get kicked out for anything like that. And then you're basically just trying to just shoot it at them enough times until somebody with some common sense looks at it. So unless there's something, some nuance to the case that would require the brand authorization, most of the time it's just a matter of reps. Have I used the new features on Aura? I have not. However, I've heard quite a few good things about it. I assume you're talking about the yo-yo. They implemented the yo-yo feature with Maven, I think. Somebody correct me if I'm wrong. Oh yeah, aggressiveness updates too. Yeah, I'm only hearing good things, and like the handful of things that I've heard, like people are really, really happy with it. So, it was Solomon, Solomon, Solomon's Paradox. Comes from King Solomon. I don't think that's your real name. Where's the safest place to buy a wholesale account from someone running a successful storefront? Um, probably say something like Flippa.com. I know they have some Amazon accounts there. Every once in a while, you may have to sort through quite a bit of them, to find something right in your wheelhouse, or something specific that you're looking for. But yeah, that's about the only place that I know. Well, aside from places like Flippa, I know there's a couple different marketplaces to actually sell stuff like that. But yeah, that's the only place that I know. What's the new price after 40% off? New price that would take it down to $59 a month, down from the original $99, which is the current price. Yeah, I can. I have no say whatsoever over the graphic design elements. I've been telling them from the start, like, you need to change the font. Like, that hurts my eyes. Polly's got a vote in for the Monday night show. Appreciate you. Where else do you get? Well, there might be places to get advice at 4 a.m., but the quality of that advice is going to be much, much higher if you're getting advice from the OAC Plus community. I think mostly bad advice at 4 a.m., depending on where you, what circles you run in. Yeah, I mean, the number still shows up. I don't know if an eBay buyer is going to look at it that closely. I think they're just looking at the number, and they're looking at the percentage of positive feedback. And as long as you're, well, I'm not even going to say a number. I don't know what the eBay buyer's looking for. But I mean, I have 100%. The one bad feedback that I got actually dropped off. I was 90 something, and I don't see it as an issue. I'd try it, and then if there's a period of time, you get antsy, you want to liquidate it, you need it to move. I'd keep the bigger seller contact that you have in my back pocket. When sourcing, do you use the trending buy box price to make buying decisions, or do you use the current offers price? For example, trend price is 20, but this week it jumped to 45. Both. Because obviously the current price, that's current information. That's where it's at, and you can't ignore it. However, you do need to. We need to sourcing when it comes to what can I sell it for on the catalog in the Amazon marketplace. We're all doing a bit of forecasting, and it's not an exact science. But we just have to do our best to try to project what may happen. You look at, like, okay, worst case scenario. That's why we try to go back on the charts. Make sure you take a look to see if there's any kind of seasonality. Obviously, with Q4 stuff, we want to know, worst case scenario, if I don't sell this, what's going to happen in January? So in order to try to find out and figure out what's going to happen in January, if I still have this, the first place to look is last January, if it has that much history, right? So you kind of, I always, in my head, I kind of project out different scenarios. Obviously, there's worst case scenario. There's the likely, things are continue going in the same direction. This is what it's likely going to be. That's what I weigh the heaviest, that information. I don't look at best case scenario, really, because that's not it's not something I need to get get my hopes up or anything like that. But you basically just try to forecast what's going to happen. So, but I certainly look at directions, like because if seller count increases, and I have a period of the Keepa graph where I can see an extended period of time where the seller count increases, what is the price done? Is it starting to pinch? Is the buy box coming down, or is it holding steady as the seller count keeps increasing? That gives you, there's different ways to go with that. Is it just a matter of time before the buy box starts dropping because somebody's going to come up against long-term storage, or just have an Amex plum bill come due and they just have to get capital no matter what? Only takes one cowboy for bad things to start happening. We know that. So it's a combination, really. It's not the answer you're probably, not the definitive answer that you're probably looking for, but it's a bit of an art. Not always black and white, but those jumps to 45 in your scenario, if there's a chance to get on that, if there's a product where it's like, okay, it's at 45 now, but it's also profitable still at 20, that's a winner, so you're taking into account both, so. See, Debbie's 4 a.m. advice is probably good advice. Much better than you'll find in a dark alley or something like that. All right. You sent Chris a message about the Black Friday code. Okay, good. He's still traveling. I think he is in Florida. He's probably, I don't know if he'll do anything tonight, right? He's had a long drive, but he should be hitting the homestead here sometime tonight. So we'll be on the right track. So, all right. And we went hour 45 tonight. Last call for questions. Let me know if you got any last questions. Hopefully we'll get that code squared away. That's disappointing. I'll send him a message too, just to make sure, because I know we said on a show that it was supposed to run through Cyber Monday. So, hopefully get that squared away. I hope you guys have had a killer sourcing week. It's been, man, I might need to decompress after this. But the work is still ongoing, right? There's so many deals. There's so much money out there to be made. I hope it's going well for you. I'll be live in the OAC Plus. We'll do sourcing. I'm interested to see how that goes. Cyber Monday sourcing show. Last week was pretty good. The beginning of Cyber Week, because you had a bunch of people, inventory comes in, and then when you can actually source storefronts, if you can stock storefronts, whether you're using Storefront Stalker Pro or just manually, storefront stocking, it's a great time to look at what they're going live with, because they bought it likely at a higher buy cost than what you're going to be able to get, right? Because assuming the best discounts are falling this weekend, right? So you can find some absolute gems. So thank you, Debbie. I appreciate it. It's my birthday right now where you are. However that works. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. Appreciate you hanging out with us late night. So, Deal Hunter, you got it, my man. Happy to do it. So it was a good show. I didn't feel like it was an hour and 45 minutes. Not to me, at least. Unless everybody, like, they didn't close out of their apps. They just, like, fell asleep from listening to me drone on and on. They're Streams just haven't shut off yet. I don't know. Maybe. Lounzinger, appreciate you, man. Got the best deal I ever got at 4 a.m. at Home Depot last year. Heard it. That's a hot tip right there. Home Depot has some stupid discounts. If you if you got a quick trigger, if you're light on your feet, Home Depot has some serious deals to be found. Home Depot I can't even access the site right now. Home Depot and then Kohl's. I just get access denied. Can't even get to the site. Ooh, $400 vacuum for $40. I can afford 90% off. That is in my wheelhouse. Sold 72 in 15 minutes. Oh man. That is incredible. Yeah, something to be said about the timing. You got it, Tim. Artem, appreciate you, man. All right. So we're right back here Wednesday, 5:30 p.m. Eastern. We'll do this all over again. I will have my co-host back. So if I didn't give you the answer, if I didn't give you a clear enough answer, the guy that's way better at this stuff will be back on Wednesday. So pop in there. If you're in the OAC Plus, I will see you there. If you're going to sign up for the OAC Plus, we will get this code figured out as soon as possible. And I hope to see you in there. So have a great rest of the Cyber weekend, Cyber Monday. And I hope to see you all. Hope to see you all soon. All right. Talk to you soon.